Hey, it's Jack. So here on Nantucket today, Wednesday, it's a month since the blade disaster, and we're going to be talking to local folks here on Nantucket about the economic and environmental impact. I'm here at Madaket Beach, and our first person that we're going to be talking to is Madaket Mary. She's been doing reports every day since the beginning of the disaster, and we're going to walk along Madaket Beach, and she's going to teach us what's going on here. So let's go. There was debris everywhere, like just walking down this beach.
Yep.
But it's been either cleaned up or washed away now?
Yeah. Well, Vineyard Wind has a crew cleaning here. They're on ATVs. There's a number of people walking with buckets. They've been picking up because with every high tide, more has been coming in.
Yeah.
And so they're here early in the morning. You can see their tracks right here.
Oh, okay. These are the tracks from the ATV clean.
Yeah, so they were cleaning today already. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything, but you know, the really concerning part are the ones, it's now breaking down into small pieces.
Yep.
And it can't be seen, but our beach is just absorbing it.
Yeah,
And
Mother Nature adjusts.
yeah, it's just breaking it down into tiny microplastics, and it's all in the water.
Now, what's a microplastic?
A tiny piece of plastic,
Just
tiny, like you
but
can't
that can
see.
be ingested by marine life, right?
Yes, absolutely. We have 4 species of endangered whales out here. The most critically endangered is the North Atlantic right whale. This is an important biological area. It's their last safe refuge. There's only 350 left in the world, less than 70 breeding females. They're relying on these waters for their survival. They are plummeting to extinction.
How big is a right whale?
I don't know, a couple of buses long.
It's like 50 feet, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm
How big is a turbine blade?
350 feet.
So
it's like the size of a football.
6 or
field.
7 times the size of a right whale.
Yeah, and
Okay.
this one blade has been hanging and delaminating for the past month, spilling its fiberglass contents out into the ocean in styrofoam. And there's big pieces still resting on the bottom floor, which are breaking up with every tide cycle and change of current. And so this is a continuing disaster for the ocean of southern New England, because we see over the last month, debris has been washing up on Cape Cod beaches, southern Massachusetts beaches, Martha's Vineyard beaches. So it's not only just Nantucket. And honestly, the environmental disaster was occurring before the blade a month ago.
Yeah, so talk to me about that. So you're talking about the blade disaster, but that's just kind of like part of the overall wind farm, which you think the wind farm is a disaster in and of itself.
Yes, yeah. Back in 2017, they started mapping the seabed.
Which is, I mean, this is just, by the way, obviously, if you're not picking it up on the camera, a gorgeous location. I live near the beach. This is really nice.
Yeah.
This is a really nice beach, Mary.
It is beautiful. It's gorgeous. And it's a nature preserve.
So somewhere out here are the windmills.
Yes. Yep. You can't see them right now because it's foggy.
Okay.
But they're very visible.
Uh-huh.
They actually dominate the view when they are in.
You can see them at night, you said?
Yes, red flashing lights.
So like they don't get hit by airplanes.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly. It looks like a runway at Logan International.
Uh-huh. All right.
And there's going to be over 500 in our view here, from one end to the other.
But Vineyard Wind itself is 62?
Yes.
Okay. And how many do you know how many they have out there now?
They have 24.
24, so about a third.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So let's just stop and talk for a second. I got a question for you. They're blaming the blade incident on manufacturing.
Okay.
Manufacturing flaw. Not an installation flaw, but manufacturing. There was some original, like, oh, it got damaged during the install. So do you know what they're doing to either inspect the existing blades that they've already built or the additional blade, because they make these in Europe, right?
Yes.
So what's going on with that? Because I know you want the wind farm to stop altogether,
Yes.
but if they're going to build it, which they seem pretty determined to build,
Right.
what are they going to do to make sure that this doesn't happen again with the blade, especially with the blade itself? Because this is not the first time a blade like this has failed.
Right.
So it's just not some like one-off freak thing. There was this similar blade that failed in the United Kingdom, right?
That's right. Dogger Bank.
Okay.
And that wind farm is still under construction as well. That was not completed. They called that one an installation problem,
Okay.
damage during installation. They still don't. They're assuming it's a manufacturing problem. They're not committing to that. Still under investigation, but they promise they are going to look at every blade that is proposed. They have stockpiled, manufactured here. They've taken ultrasound images, thousands of every blade. They're going to go back and review that. They said they're going to put little robots inside the blade and have the camera going around the blade. This is all unproven mitigation.
Yep.
So, I mean, it sounds comforting, but the fact that these blades themselves have never been used before, except at Dogger Bank and here, and now we've had blade catastrophes.
And this is like a one-of-a-kind blade.
The largest ever.
The largest
used.
ever.
Yes.
And they're really only deployed in these two locations,
Yes.
here in the United Kingdom.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
And there's and both. So, you know, they're hiding things from the public. There's issues. In our select board, they were asked, was there ever a problem with one of these blades before? And they didn't voluntarily offer that information.
And your number one concern is the whales, because there's
Yeah.
only 350 of these.
Exactly.
Well, just so for perspective, like if we were to go back in time, say like 500 years ago, how many whales would have there been then? I mean, just to kind
Yeah.
of give an idea of how few 350 is.
Tens of thousands out here, tens of thousands. And the reason they're called the right whale is because they were the right whale to kill for their oil.
Okay.
You know, they float after death. They've
right.
got a lot of oil in them. So
Of
first,
which Nantucket made its name basically as
exactly,
a whaling town.
Exactly, because we could harvest them from the beaches. There were so many, we didn't even have to go out on boats. And so that kicked off our whaling industry. And then we killed off so many here because it lit our lamps, lubricated our machinery, that they had to build whaling vessels and go out up into Greenland, Arctic to find the whales. So there were less.
A whale is so big, but it actually eats tiny little things,
Oh yes,
right?
copepods, which is microscopic little shellfish.
Or
plankton.
fiberglass.
Yeah, or fiberglass. They're baleen whales, which means they feed by skimming the surface
Okay.
of the water.
So you would think something so big like that would be eating like other big things, but it's a interesting juxtaposition that something so big
That's
lives on something so small.
Yes, absolutely. And that's the North Atlantic right whale.
Okay.
You know, other whales do, you know, the Manhattan, they'll come up and they'll leap and they'll have their open mouths. We see that on the news. The right whales are like cows out there. Herman Melville called them in Moby Dick our morning grazers, because you just see them grazing continuously on the surface of the water for their food.
So in a way, like in the same way that we hunted buffalo in the Western Plains, easy target.
Easy target, they were like cows.
Same idea with the right whales.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So setting aside the blade disaster,
Okay.
what is it about Vineyard Wind and these other type of wind farms that are in the ocean that are an inherent risk to the right whales and other marine life?
Okay.
Let's just pretend as if the blade disaster never happened.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. So there's 4 species of
Not
endangered.
that it didn't, but
Well, it opened people's eyes.
Yeah.
And ears, and I'm happy to. So there's 4 species of endangered whales. There's 4 species of endangered sea turtles out here. There's, fish. There's our piping plover, our endangered piping plover.
we have those in Plymouth, yes.
They have to fly through the blades to get to their nesting grounds that we protect
Here on the beach.
here on the beach. This is a nature sanctuary. So our ocean, this has been fairly quiet. It's out of shipping lanes, this area here where the turbines are proposed. But now, with the development of the wind farms, it's introducing this incredible noise into the ocean.
All right, the noise, because there's a pile driver that has to pile this thing into the ground.
Yes.
Can you hear that from here?
I've never heard it from here.
Okay.
So,
But the sound, the whales could hear it.
oh, incredibly. Do you know, in the whaling days, when those whalers went out on the small boats to harpoon, they took their shoes off so that the noise of the shoes on the bottom of that boat wouldn't scare the whales away.
Clever.
They padded their oarlocks so the noise of the oars and the oarlocks
Wouldn't startle a whale.
So that's how sensitive this hearing is.
So, but this is like driving, this would be like the equivalent of like driving a giant beam into the ground to build a skyscraper.
200 feet, pound, pound, pound.
And if you go out there, you could probably hear it.
Oh yes, definitely.
If you're out there in a boat.
Put your head down in the water,
Yeah.
you're definitely going to feel it.
Okay, all right. And,
so-
and whales are maybe not like dolphins, but they definitely have auditory.
That's how they see.
Okay.
They see the world like our eyes, that's their auditory.
Like a bat.
Yeah, they navigate by hearing.
Oh.
They communicate to each other.
I didn't know that.
Yes, they find their young. They find their food by their hearing. A deaf whale is a dead whale.
All right.
And
when there's only 350 of these
exactly.
whales.
Exactly. Now, this incredible noise has started since 2017 because the seabed floor mapping with the seismic blasting sonar, they blast with sound to map the seabed.
Uh-huh.
That started in 2017, so we've had...
Before they even put it in a turbine.
That's right. Creating an unusual mortality event for the right whales, the humpback, and the minke. They just started this huge uptick in death with that sonar.
We got a little
activity.
seagull that's checking us out here. And we're just following the tracks where probably this is the cleanup crew ATVs, which
Yeah.
we've seen on the news.
Yeah, or back. Yeah, usually there's 2. Look at, they're going across.
Yeah, there's a couple of tracks here for sure. Okay.
Yep.
And to our west or straight ahead is Martha's Vineyard, basically, right? That
Yes.
way.
Yes.
And
On
look.
a clear day, you can see the water tower
Uh-huh.
on Martha's Vineyard.
And beyond that, Long Island.
Yeah, I think
Eventually.
Yeah, maybe that way a little bit for
Yeah.
longer.
Somewhere over there.
Exactly.
Okay.
But the lease area for their turbines really borders Nantucket, Martha's Vineyard, Block Island, Long Island.
And
It's massive. It's 1,500 square miles.
this isn't the only type of project that
Right.
this is like, so there are other similar projects.
Yes.
So
side by
this is-
side.
This is not, but I mean, like even on the eastern seaboard, some people might say that, you're just interested in the whales, or some of the other people I might talk to today are just not in my backyard type of
Right.
people. But this is actually a huge effort to create energy, theoretically, throughout the eastern seaboard.
Yes, theoretically. The concept is great. But these haven't worked anywhere. You know, even in Europe, they say, oh, we've had 3 decades of Europe. In Europe, 2 decades of Europe. Look what's happening with Europe.
Hey, let's check this out. We got a little sandcastle here.
Yeah.
What's happened in Europe?
Well, they're now, like Germany was in a manufacturing recession. You know, energy's gotten really expensive. They've really soured on the wind energy. They were the leaders of the world in wind energy, and they have soured on it. And these are all the companies coming over here.
Most of these companies
Oh, yeah.
are European.
Oh, yeah.
German.
Yeah, yeah.
France, I think is where they
Spanish
manufacture it.
is Vineyard Wind. These aren't American companies. It's a narwhal.
This is a
Octopus,
narwhal?
yeah.
Oh, these are actually made to species specific?
Yeah.
Okay. That's some skill there for sure. I wouldn't have that skill.
I love it.
It is a spout, okay. And theoretically, this is supposed to say, I mean, this kind of the big irony here is that theoretically this is supposed to be green energy
Yeah.
in order to save the climate and save the environment. Give us your take on that.
Well, it's destroying our environment. This permanently destroys the natural seabed. It changes our soft natural seabed into concrete, rocks, high voltage electrical cables, and steel. And that will remain forever. And that's the basis of the food chain. What, you know, the sand eels in the sand bed, in the soft natural floor. The cables themselves emit this high voltage electrical field.
Which goes to the mainland, right?
Right, but studies show, you know, turtle species, lobsters, don't cross that field. So they won't be able to migrate.
Okay. And then Nantucket gets its power by a separate cable that connects like from by Harwich or something like that.
2 cables.
Two
come
cables.
From National Grid over here. Each one of the Vineyard Wind cables is 40 times higher voltage than one National Grid cable to the mainland, to our mainland. So they say, well, you know, they're doing okay over there. Yeah, but they don't have whales here, and they don't have the sea life, and they're a lot weaker voltage-wise.
And what do you think is going to happen next? You think the project is going to continue apace, or what's your? What do you? I know what you want.
Yeah, I know.
I know what you want. What's going to happen?
I don't know.
Okay.
I just feel like we're at an inflection point right now. I think the public understands this is not good for the environment, that we've been sold a bill of goods. I know here on Nantucket, we're angry. We're angry at our select board, who went into a financial partnership, the Good Neighbor Agreement. We're angry at our environmental groups that we rely on to protect us from this very same thing.
It seems that some of the environmental groups kind of were all in on this because it was for climate change.
Right. Yeah, and they, you know, we did a report. We investigated many environmental groups, familiar names, have actually taken money from the wind companies.
Taking money from the wind companies.
Yes.
I get it. Okay.
Yeah, like New England Aquarium, all of our aquariums, and they've turned. They're ignoring the plight of the right whale, and you know, supporting these turbines. We have to do this at all costs. We have to do this.
So there's a lot of people that come at this from, they don't care about the environment, right? There's some people, like, they're not nearly as much as you do.
Yeah, maybe they're not aware.
But they're more economic looking at it.
Yeah.
And they're saying, whoa, this does not make economic sense at all.
Yeah.
And it seems as this is a point where you kind of have your economic people kind of teaming up with your environmental people.
Yeah.
Which is a kind of an unusual match because they don't agree on a lot of other issues.
I suppose. Maybe they're just realizing without our environment, we don't have anything.
Yeah.
What do we have? Where's our wealth when we don't have our whales? When we don't have our... This was an international eBird hotspot for birds, Nantucket. And I was talking to the land bank.
This is just like Nantucket's like just a giant rest stop on the
Yes,
migratory
it is. It is.
freeway.
It is. It is such a special place, such special biodiversity. It makes no sense to be destroying this. It has what most places have lost along the East Coast.
You know, that's really interesting you say that, because we used to have a congressman from this district who specifically said, you know, he would travel all over the country, and when he came back here, he said he never realized how special it was until he visited so many of the other places. And
That's
he really
right.
felt that we had like a covenant, like
Yeah.
not a promise, but like an unbreakable
duty.
bond
Yes.
to protect it, not for us,
Yes. Absolutely.
and not even for future people,
Absolutely.
but for the environment itself, for
That's
the people
right.
for the animals,
right.
the critters that can't do it for themselves.
Exactly. Have no voice.
Have no voice.
Yeah. That's exactly how I feel.
Let me just ask you another question. The selectmen, or select board, you just kind of said, hey, they entered into this agreement.
Yes.
They've been present. They've had a couple of meetings. You had
Yep.
your state senator show up
Yep.
briefly,
Yep.
but hardly any other elected officials.
Right.
Why
Yeah.
is that?
Congressman Keating, all in on these. Bill Keating, Governor Healy, all in on this. They're absent. I was questioning that day one, first meeting. Where are they? Where are they?
And it's been a month.
Yeah,
They're not here.
they're not here.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and our lifeguards, day one, are picking up these massive shards with their bare hands. Because they love Nantucket, it's their home.
Nantucket is a place that almost always votes for Democrats. Almost all the officials that you just mentioned are Democrats.
Yeah.
You would think they'd,
I don't know, I can't speak to that.
okay.
But what this is showing me, and I think everybody that is waking up, conservation is there's no greater uniter than conservation. I don't even hear amongst my fellow islanders any political divide. And it really was a political divide that allowed this to happen. It was like this, the political ideology, green is good, we have to save our planet. Well, now I think we're all uniting in our pursuit to save our environment.
And we've seen some, how do I want to say this in the nicest way possible? In the last several years, there have been any number of topics where people have been like, as a society, this is what we have to do. There's only one solution. And then, I don't know, a couple of years later, we realize, maybe we could have done it a different way. Maybe those handful of people that sounded like conspiracy theorists at the time, maybe they were right.
Honestly, I want to speak to that. In 2019, when this was
what do we have
going
here?
forward, I'm not sure. It's styrofoam.
Styrofoam?
This is floating up everywhere too. It's
Okay.
not that green, but it's everywhere.
That could just be a cooler from 7-Eleven. We don't know.
But I'm seeing it consistently, so I would say it's part of the blade. So back in 2019, the acting director of the Bureau of Ocean Energy Management, the permitting agency, was quoted in a newspaper article. We don't know what's going to happen. There's some of us that want to go fast, build. There's some that say we should slow down, take our time, build one and see what happens. Are our worst fears going to play out? We don't know. So we are the guinea pig. And the thing is, we're not slowing down. They say we haven't even had a water quality test since this happened.
And they're resuming construction.
Yeah.
Not blade installation, but
Yeah.
but overall construction.
Yes. And we haven't had a water quality test. We haven't had an environmental assessment on our marine life of the impact from this. Yet they say, well, there's no significant impact. Go ahead, good to go. And they're approving.
But the company that did the impact is actually the company who manufactured the blade. Am I right about that? Or something like?
Well, GE Vernova, yes.
GE basically
Yes,
paid for this
GE
study.
Yes, absolutely. So, back to the blades, GE Vernova, These were manufactured in France. Might have had some manufactured in Canada, but the factory in France is no longer making the blades because they had an issue with the mold. The mold broke, so they're not making the blades any longer.
Okay.
That's very telling right there. And they're laying off thousands of employees and shutting down plants. What does that mean? We have the bum blades here stockpiled, and they're good enough for us.
Do you know how many blades they have, like, pending installation that they actually have possession of?
I don't know.
I know that they still have some on the boat that goes out of New Bedford. Mm-hmm. That was actually covered in the paper today.
Okay.
That they...
Yeah, they're stockpiled in New Bedford. I don't know if all of them are there. A good many are.
So they have at least 3 on the boat.
Yes.
And they haven't taken them off because I'm sure that's quite a procedure.
Yeah,
and
they said they needed them for balance.
Needed them for ballast. Right.
Yeah, the thing with the blades too, without this blade falling in and making a big mess, just the blades being out there, there's something called leading edge erosion. That they break down, and through the breaking down, they are just discharging microplastics into the ocean. And we see that they don't take down a broken wind turbine, right? They're just letting it fall into the ocean.
Yeah, they're controlled cutting it now.
Yeah. So that means I'm cutting it and it's going to fall into the ocean. That's their controlled.
What did I miss, Mary? What questions did I miss?
I would like to bring up that the Endangered Species Act is one of the most powerful environmental laws in the history of our nation. And this is, from the get-go, violating that very important environmental law with the North Atlantic right whale. This is their breeding, not breeding grounds, but where they raise their young, they rely on it. It's the only winter feeding grounds. Even the chief scientist for protective species for NOAA said that continuing this kind of activity here, this intense industrial activity, will cause population level impacts, which means 340 individuals, extinction. Also that these are foreign energy companies, and our government agency, the permitting government agency, the BOEM, is letting these foreign energy companies self-report, self-mitigate, and self-regulate. They've really put, there's no, where else can an American company get away with that?
Well, this is 15 miles away, right? Offshore here?
Yes.
And so it's not like it's like right under the nose of the government. If you wanted to keep a track of what they're doing, do they have inspectors like, no? There's
no oversight.
Okay. Yeah,
No.
Because it's not like they're putting up a windmill in downtown Nantucket. It's way the hell out there.
They could have, they say it in their impact, we could have placed regulation on them, but it would just be too expensive to follow up on that. So we're going to let them do what they want with our endangered animals, our environment, all the beings that rely on this very special part of the ocean of southern New England.
Thank you, Mary.
You're welcome.
This has
thanks
been
for
great.
Coming. I really appreciate
I
your
learned a
time.
lot in a 25-minute chat.
Oh, good.
Yeah, it's just great to be here. This is, when you get here in person, and we've all been to most everyone's been to the beach, but this is a little extra special beach.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, I've had people here like, this is a real beach.
This is a real beach.
It's a beautiful ocean.